Coach Zach, you're a boxing coach here at Kamikaze Warriors, and you've got a number of professional boxers at a very high level. And that's not very typical in the Netherlands. So immediately I have to ask you, what's the reason behind the success of this gym?
Wow, that's a crazy question. The success, yeah, I don't know, showing up every morning and doing what's need to be done. And yeah, that's what it is, showing up every morning and never giving up and keep going forward.
But you yourself, I know you have a kickboxing background,
Yeah,
but at a certain stage you decided to move to boxing.
yeah.
Why did you leave kickboxing and move to boxing?
I was done with the kicks. I was done actually with the injuries, and the boxing had more science to it, and I liked it. I still like kickboxing. I still like to watch it, but yeah, like I said, one of the things was less injuries, and yeah, you can play the game longer. It's like having a game, and it's a short game, and this game is longer, like you said. Like I said, in the pro game you can fight longer rounds, and in the kickboxing or in the Muay Thai 5 rounds, and that's it. And it's different. It's a different sport, but still I fell for the boxing. Yeah.
But what would you say, correct me if I'm wrong, but very often when we look at kickboxing, so they put the hands up, especially here in the Netherlands, they go in the pocket, and it's almost as if they have an agreement. I throw my combination, then you throw your combination. In boxing, that's impossible. It's a lot of counters, a lot of technique. What is your opinion on the IQ of kickboxing?
The IQ of kickboxing, that depends which gym and where you're kickboxing. The typical Dutch style, the typical Dutch style was the one you just called, actually, standing in front of each other. I throw a combination, you guard up and you throw another combination, and then if it lands, it lands. But now the kickboxing is smarter. There are some gyms, I'll give an example, by SB Gym, for example, is one of the best actually. And they do a lot of technical, their fighters, they fight technical. They don't take all the damage, because you don't need to take damage all the time and everything on your guard. So you see them, they fight smarter. They step away, they give golf kicks, they block good. The reaction is there. So it's, the kickboxing is evolving, is getting better and smarter. But still, I like also to see sometimes the old Dutch style, of course, because that's something which has been there for I don't know how long, and that makes also the sport, yeah, I don't know, how do we call it? Sport violence, yeah, sport violence.
But in a country as the Netherlands, where kickboxing is huge, you've decided to pursue a career in boxing as a coach, and you've managed to develop a number of high-level fighters, because I know you've got Elijah Kamara, Tonias.
Yes.
You've got now Brian, who we just spoke to, Bas.
Yes.
And I forget also Allah you have?
Allah, yeah, Allah Mahmoud.
Allah Mahmoud. You've got really a number of high-level...
Artyom Kasparian.
Artyom Kasparian, of course.
Yes.
But so I have to ask you, what steps are you taking here in a country where kickboxing is big but boxing is not, in order to compete with the world?
The steps which I'm taking are actually simple. I'm following the boxing history and how it's done before. Trainings, because the training camp here in the Netherlands or in another country, the only difference is that there are different athletes that we might face or not face, but for them, we are also new, like they are for us. So we're in the same circle. The only thing which we struggle with here in the Netherlands is sometimes sparring, because you spar with each other and you know everybody already. But what I try to do different is, it depends against who we are boxing, and it depends against who we are boxing. So if boxing someone who's tall and fighting from the outside, I'll try to look into my network, either here first in the Netherlands, of course, and otherwise then outside of the Netherlands. And then we'll have a training camp with those people. So yeah, that's how I do it actually. Yeah, like I said, I follow the book. and I follow. I don't have my own specific style that I teach to the guys. I I look at the guy how his style is, and I just try to make his style better, and his weaknesses I try to strengthen them. But the focus is not on that, of course, but it's actually making him good in what he's doing.
Okay. But very often we see with coaches in boxing, they say, for example, oh, keep your elbows tight, and when you punch, punch it this way. Like, always do everything according to the way it's in the book. Are you that type of coach who says, okay, it has to be perfectly technical, or do you actually look at someone and think, okay, maybe if he throws a punch from his belly, it's no problem?
Both. I go by the book. Some things sometimes in practice have to be how it's supposed to be. That's why you keep repeating it. And that's the safest way to do it. But in the moment of tension and in fights, you will make mistakes. You will. The higher you get, the less mistakes you make, of course. There are some guys that I train sometimes, like you said, they are perfect, closed very good, they don't make those mistakes. But in the heat, they're always open. And they will bring a punch from their belly, they will bring a punch from from back
their
of the
pocket.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So these things happen, but some boxers have bad habits that they're dropping their hands after throwing a jab, for example. So sometimes it gets difficult to get that bad habit out of him, but then you need to try to learn him how to protect himself if he gets actually striked on his mistake. For example, I'm just giving an example. If someone throws a jab, and every time he throws this jab down here, you see automatically I take my right hand here, because they can throw a right hand over it, because every time they know I'm going to drop this jab. This is just an example. Instead of telling him, hey, you have to bring your jab every time back to your chin. You know already, you have seen him sparring 1,000 times, you have tried it already in drills to change it, but it doesn't change. So it doesn't change, so there should be something else that can shield it or protect him from getting knocked out, actually, or getting punched.
But I have to ask you, very often we see fighters at the highest level. Now I'm thinking more about MMA, but for example, I remember there was one fight of Paddy Pimblett, and he was always throwing a punch, but his chin was always in the air.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at those professional fighters with their chin in the air, I'm thinking, how is it possible that fighters at the highest level make mistakes of that nature?
That's because their fundamentals were never those things. They, like you said, they're very high level fighters, and they deserve where they are. Of course, they work hard towards it, but those small things which you said, like the chin high, guard low, those are things that happened at the beginning of their involvement in the sports. It's like when you have a kid, a baby, you teach him everything. He looks up to you, so he does everything what you do. And everything what you learn him, he takes it much more easier and he will do it. So when you're a new student to the game, you learn everything what you see. So if nobody tells you each time, hey, or punishes you because you drop your hands or whatever, those kind of examples, those things will become bad habits, and sometimes bad habits will become a normal thing. And yeah, you can get a lot of success with it, but it can also ruin your life. And you have these kind of fighters, of course.
Yeah. What is your opinion?
But fighters is fighting, fighting is fighting, so it's not only, I'm sorry I interrupted you, it's not always only the skills and everything. Sometimes it's also the heart. Some people have a strong chin and he has heart, and you can be all-rounded in everything and he can still actually beat you because he has more heart. And yeah, or he has a different style that beats your style, even that he's open and he's got beaten by all the champs before, but he beats you.
But many people say you need to work, if you work hard you can achieve everything, but I personally doubt that you can only with hard work achieve the level of Floyd Mayweather. So how important is talent in becoming a world level boxer?
With talent, you don't reach nothing. You should have talent, yes, of course. You should have hard work. And then you should have a network, a very strong network, because you need to sell yourself. If you can't sell yourself, you're a nobody. If you're not famous, you don't get to that high level, because you can have a lot of talent, you can work really hard, and there are a lot of people like that around the world, but they don't have a chance. They say we're waiting for that chance. Of course, all of them, they're waiting for that chance. All of them, they want to cross the sea. But the only way to do it, either you have to have a lot of money, and if you have a lot of money, you have a big network. If you don't have a lot of money, you should have to figure it out how to become famous, so you get people around you that follows you, sponsors you, blah, 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 that sells. And then comes your skills and your hard work. If you have this combination, yes. If you don't have it, then you can stand in the row with all the guys who are working really hard and have talent and are waiting for their chance. And that's it.
But then, how important would it be for a fighter, for example, these press conference moments, to make the best use of them and to be a good speaker? How important is that?
It's very important. Of course, you have to sell the fight. You can sell the fight if you're a good seller and you do what needs to be done. Then you can reach to the top, of course, but different. If you even come there and you don't sell the fight and you beat up their champion and you don't have a background, you don't have a network, they'll not invite you. They'll not, because you're a threat. For example, Allah, they know he's dangerous, so they don't give him like fair fights. They avoid him, or they try to give him less money for a big fight, actually, which he's supposed, and they try to play around it. So it's all boxing politics, you know. Yeah, that's what it is.
In the sport of, if we look at MMA, the big fights do take place. So, for example, now John Jones did not fight against Aspinall, but UFC did their best to make that fight happen. But in boxing, I often have the feeling that we don't see the big fights happening. For example, we never really saw Anthony Joshua and Wilder when they were in their prime. We did not really see Tyson Fury face Anthony Joshua. Maybe it can happen in the future, but why do they not make the big fights in boxing?
I think there are always big fights in boxing. Believe me, it's just never enough. And this, what you told me, like this one against this one in his prime, and this has been always in boxing since way back. It has been always like this, and I think it's even in kickboxing, and I think it's even in MMA, because the only big fights that we see in MMA are happening in the UFC platforms. The rest of the platforms are not making enough money like they do, because they're not making that. In one champion, for example, and I dare to say it, 80% of the wins are the Asian guys who are winning there. So it's all politics always. It's only the advertisement around it that makes it so big, and that can make it sell. It doesn't matter who's standing there now. But still, big fights do happen, but it's all politics. Because if I'm fighting, if I'm a free agent and I can ask how much money I want, you can as well ask how much money you want. Then we need to find a promotion that's going to pay that. And there are still rules. I want to box with my own gloves. Maybe you don't want that. I want the hydration clause, that you are the next day weighing a different weight or not higher than the weight of the day before, maybe with 2 kilograms. There is a lot of poespas, how we say that in Dutch. So it's politics, it's really politics. So that's why it's difficult sometimes to get big fights. And if you have a high record and you're in the top 10 and I'm in the top 20 and we want to box, for example, in your country, and I accept, but you want a small ring, because I'm a boxer that boxes, of course, from the outside, so, and I don't accept that. So the fight is not happening. Or a big promotion and another promotion come together, and if we're assigned to both promotions, then it will happen. And still there are negotiations in between. And there are managers who have to get their money for that. There are matchmakers who have to get the money. And you have to sell tickets as a fighter.
But how is it possible in the 21st century, with all that money which is being invested in boxing, that we still have these complications of, oh, but I want a smaller ring, or these gloves? Like, why isn't there a big authority which just says, okay, these are the rules, we stick to the
There will
rules?
never be. There will never be. People think, and that's a dream, because it doesn't exist also in real life. And you know, boxing, kickboxing, every violent sport, you have to think about in the time of the gladiators, there was the same politics. The bigger you are, the famous you are, you get the field how you want it, right? They make it smaller, they give you dogs, they give you more weapons. You know, it's always the A side and the B side, and that's it. And it will always be. It's also in life. You have high-class people, you have low-class people, so, and the low-class people have to work harder, so, you know, that's life, that's boxing, that's football, that's in everything. There's nothing which is fair.
Okay.
Fair, we get close to fair, but that's life.
Okay, but your boys, your fighters who are here in the Netherlands, many of them have professional records, let's say 5 wins, 0 losses. Many of them are undefeated. Many of them have a good record. And I know you want to push these boys to the top, right? You want to get to be a world champion.
Yeah.
But you have to face, like in foreign countries such as England and America, they try to push their own boys, their own talent.
Of course.
So how are you gonna make the breakthrough there? How are you gonna do it?
Well, you have, for example, Ala is world champion now, and he's 12-0. And then there is Artyom, who just became 11-0 months and a half ago. And I have next month, at the end of the month, again, another fight. So there are more fights actually planned. So what I want to say with this, I take my fighters to England mostly, and Germany, but specifically England. That feels like my second home, Manchester. And then I work together with Pat Barrett. You should look it up. Pat Barrett is a old professional boxer, but he's a promoter, has his own promotion. He's also a manager. He's a legend in Manchester, so everybody knows him, Pat Barrett. And yeah, he helps me through those things. So the boxers, they go there for sparring camps. And I have Bas, of course, he's signed with Nelson Boxing in London. So we have some connections as well there. And we're fighting there soon also with Bas. So the more I get the guys to fight outside and get signed outside of the Netherlands, they get more chance to go to bigger fights and fight purses and promotions and so on. And that's what I do. I train them here, and then we go outside. And we perform. That's what we do. And then we come back and we train again, and we go outside again. And yeah, we don't stop. We keep going, because the guys, it's for them, it's their work, and for me, it's the same. I don't have nothing else next to this, and they have also nothing else next to really boxing. They do nothing else. Only we are all the time breathing boxing, eating boxing. Waking up in the gym the next day and the next day and the next day. It's doesn't stop.
But how do you manage to keep them motivated? Because in boxing, you never have the security that you will become a champion. Nobody guarantees you that you will become rich from boxing. And you say these boys, basically, they don't work. Everything they do is this. But nobody can guarantee them that they will become rich. So how do you keep them stuck to the sport?
When you choose this sport, it's a choice of a lifetime, because this sport, if you're gonna do it, you have to do it till the end of your time, because you can do it, of course, 2, 3, 4 years and then quit, but no, you're gonna be living as a boxer your whole life. And I'm gonna give you an example with something else. If you choose to work in a company, you're gonna work yourself up, because you want a raise every time. So you're gonna try to do your best every time. The more you do your best and perform better, you're gonna get more money, you're gonna get higher, and then maybe start your own business. So, but you're still gonna be in the office business. For the boxer, it's the same thing. So when they work with me, of course, I ask them, and we have these conversations. You're a boxer, and this is the life you chose. You have to do your best each time, and each time, and you have to make sure that you become better every performance, and that you earn also more money every time you have won another fight. This is how you're gonna reward yourself. It depends, of course, on the rounds, but you have to fight smarter, you have to invest smarter, you have to spar smarter. Um, Instead of sparring everybody, you should ask money for sparring. There are a lot of things, but you're gonna be living how a boxer should live, and that's it. Of course, you can in the future, if you have some money on the side, can start some side businesses and these kind of things. But now there is nothing else. There is only boxing.
Okay. A person who's got a lot of side businesses is Jake Paul. Obviously, he was not a boxer, but now he became a boxer. As a professional coach, I have to ask you, what is your opinion on Jake Paul and his boxing skills?
Boxing skills. Yeah, they got better. They got better. I'm not a super fan of his skills, to be honest. He wouldn't be my favorite boxer, but I do respect what he's doing, because he's doing it at the end for the sport, and what he did for the female boxing is also very, very, very good, and much respect for that, because nobody's doing so. Yeah, but like I said, about his skills, he got better than before. He's getting every time better, and I believe if he keeps going, I don't know how old he is.
27, 28.
27, 28, yeah, he can still do some damage, and he can become even better. He can still do some damage, and he can get better. And that depends on him and what he wants to do with it. And but you said he had some side businesses, but I think he had some very big side businesses. You know, me and you would dream about, but that made things also easier for him, because he's famous. Like I said, he has the network, he has the people behind him, and of course people are gonna hate. Once a Disney boy, you know, comes to box, and they're gonna wish all of them that he gets his ass beaten, and that's very smart for him, you know, the marketing way how he did it, and he just didn't do it only. No, he made himself better, and yeah, he knew what he's doing. So that's why I said to you, respect of what he's done, and that motivates also others maybe to become better in the sport and opens door for others. Yeah.
But you said he wouldn't be one of my favorite boxers if he was one of your fighters.
Yeah.
When you look at him, what is something that you don't like about the way he boxes? Like, what don't you like about his style?
You remember what you said to me at the beginning of the conversation, that people have bad habits, dropping their hands and everything.
Yeah.
And he has that. He has a lot of, not a lot, but he has a few bad habits. He has a few bad habits, which makes it very dangerous for him. He can get knocked out, and he believes in his power. And I don't say that my fighters don't make some such mistakes. They do the same. Sometimes, not in everything, but that's why. I don't see the technical part. He doesn't have the technical, maybe on the mitts, you know, and on TV, but in the fights, no. No.
If you were to fight against top 20 boxers in his weight class, how would he perform against those guys?
In which weight class? Because he jumps from weight classes.
Yeah, let's say that's 90 kilogram, 89 kilogram, I believe.
90, 92.
92. How would he compete there?
That's cruiserweight. He will kill a lot of people. He will knock out some guys, definitely, because the cruiserweight is not rich of very good fighters. It's full of fighters, but not so much, and it's only in the top 20 or the top 50, 40 who are. You can find some dangerous guys in the top 10, definitely. You have this guy from, I think, from Australia, the southpaw, Opataya or something was his name. That guy is very dangerous for Jake Paul. Very, very dangerous. Yeah.
But would he stand a chance against the top 15 guys in the cruiserweight?
Yes and no. Yes and no. I have to see who are the guys on the top 15 on the box rack. I have to see them, and then when I see them, I look them up, and then I can tell you.
Okay, but that means that, in your opinion, Jake does have a solid level of boxing, because still you have some belief that he would.
Yeah, because I've saw him fighting, but we have a kid here in Rotterdam. I'm not gonna call his name, but remember this, that I said this to you. We have a kid, there is a kid in Rotterdam that trains there. He just became pro. I give that kid maybe 5 or 6 pro fights, 5. He will knock out Jake Paul, the lights out, really. Really, I'm 100% sure. If that kid has maybe 6 fights and he knows a little bit more, 7 even, Jake Paul will never win. Never.
But how old is that kid?
He's 21.
Okay.
He will never win. Never. The kid has dynamites in both hands and he has very good precision. And I don't say more about the kid. So he's not a kid, yeah, he's a young boy, so a young fella, yeah. Very strong in that weight. So Elijah Kamara can be a big problem for him right now as well. And Elijah is not in the top 20. Elijah is in the top 300. So that's why I said to you, he still has to have some fights. Jake has to at least have like 15 or 20 fights to be ready for that level in the top 10, because he can meet very dangerous guys.
But you mean 15 or 20 fights from now on, or in total?
No, he has to have on his record 17 or 20. And why I'm saying that, because some guys sometimes in the top 10, I think it's very dangerous for him, but sometimes some guys in the top 10, they fight some guy in the top 150 or 120. They bring him actually as the B-side, and then he's lucky, or he cuts them, or he knocks them out by lucky shot or whatever. And that guy comes from 150 to number 110, to number 10. He will stand on his ranking number. And if he's standing there, and Jake Paul, for example, is better than the other guy, he will challenge the guy in the top 10 for that. He will challenge him and he would win. And he will be in the top 10 standing, and then people will say, whoa. Do you understand? So that's why the boxing, it's one crazy world.